Matt Simmons, a prominent oil industry expert who lately was very outspoken about the cover-up going on in the Gulf of Mexico by BP and the federal government, was found dead in his home after supposedly drowning after apparently suffering from a heart attack. Matt was very vocal on several nationwide news programs making claims that have led some people to question his sanity, as well as blowing the whistle on BP and the government on several issues. Matt Simmons was very well connected to oil industry insiders and top government officials in charge of regulating the oil industry. As a result of those connections, Matt was able to blow the whistle on several lies that BP and the government were making to the public. Matt called the claims of only 5,000 barrels a day leaking into the Gulf of Mexico preposterous, and instead he conjectured that there must be at least a minimum of 120,000 barrels of oil per day leaking into the Gulf. Matt also reported that there were leaks 5 to 7 miles away, which were later confirmed by a NOAA report issued by the Thomas Jefferson. Matt Simmons also revealed that the NOAA ships had discovered huge underwater plumes of oil at 1,100 meters below the surface of the Gulf of Mexico, claiming that they covered up to 40% of the Gulf. He made those claims at the same time that NOAA and the federal government and BP were publicly denying the existence of underwater plumes of oil. Matt recently made national headlines by stating BP would go bankrupt because they didn't have enough money to clean up the Gulf of Mexico, as well as making claims that the well integrity and the pressure of BP's leaking well were so high that nothing on Earth, short of a nuclear weapon, could close this well. Just recently, after BP capped the well, Matt stood by his earlier claims that the well being shown to the public was a fake, and he reinstated his claims that BP had a second well leaking somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico. The untimely death of Matt Simmons, combined with his continual use of his government connections to blow the whistle on BP and the government, raises questions of whether Matt Simmons really died of natural causes or if he was assassinated by the United States government. The number one suspect for assassinating Matt Simmons is the CIA, because under the rule of the Obama administration, the CIA has the ability to place anyone, including American citizens, deemed as a national security threat on what is known as a kill list.
In the days after 9/11, the Congress enacted the authorization for use of military force, which has formed the basis of the war in Afghanistan and pretty much all of the other counterterrorism efforts that have occurred since then. The Obama administration appears to be taking an extremely broad view of the authority conferred by that authorization and seems to take the view that it authorizes them to use force anywhere in the world. President Obama appears to be claiming the authority to put individuals' names on a secret list based on secret evidence that they meet a secret standard, a secret definition of the enemy, and then to hunt and kill those people anywhere in the world. And that includes U.S. citizens. We now know that at least 3 U.S. citizens have been put onto this list.
Being placed on a kill list means the CIA can assassinate you anywhere in the world without having to publicly even make a complaint or sign an indictment against you.
Now, that should be extremely troubling for any American. The idea that the president is claiming such a sweeping authority with no oversight and absolutely no transparency about its limits. The idea is that simply because the Obama administration believes that a suspected terrorist is located somewhere outside of any war zone or zone of armed conflict, they can use quintessentially wartime tactics there. So when you're outside of an armed conflict zone, ordinary human rights law applies. You can't generally, the basic rule is that you can't kill people.
Now, you have to consider both the United States government and Great Britain considered BP as critical to national security. Certainly, the claims and revelations made by Matt Simmons would have been deemed as a threat to the national security of both the United States and of Great Britain, and certainly could have earned Matt Simmons a place on the CIA kill list.
We're also looking for information about the number of civilians and non-civilians that were killed, and we're looking for information about how the program is overseen. It's now widely reported that the CIA conducts, the targeted killing program outside of Afghanistan.
So, now that we consider that it's possible for Matt Simmons to be on this CIA kill list, let us also assume that the medical examiner's report was not faked and Matt really did die from drowning after he had a heart attack. Believe it or not, as reported by former CIA whistleblowers, the CIA has developed an undetectable chemical dart that dissolves completely in the target's skin and causes a heart attack.
Also, I had to find, one time they wanted me to find out if there was such a thing as a poison that was undetectable, especially one that seemed to mimic a heart attack, that would kill someone, but it would appear that they had a heart attack. I did find such a thing.
Does this pistol fire the dart?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman, and a special one was developed which potentially would be able to enter the target without perception.
The poison was frozen into some sort of dart, and then it was shot at very high speed into the person, so when it reached the person it would melt inside them, and the only thing would be like one little tiny red dot on their body, which was hard to detect. There wouldn't be a needle left or anything like that in the person.
But also the toxin itself would not appear in the autopsy?
Yes, so that there was no way of perceiving that the target was him.
Believe it or not, as reported by former CIA whistleblowers, the CIA has developed an almost undetectable chemical dart that, after being shot into a victim, dissolves completely and causes a heart attack. So the question remains, was Matt Simmons assassinated? Was he placed on the United States government kill list?